Rise, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there till I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him. And he rose and took the child and his mother by night, and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet, "Out of Egypt have I called my son." Then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, was in a furious rage. And he sent and killed all the male children in Bethlehem and in all that region who were 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had ascertained from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled because they were no more. But when Herod died, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, "Rise, take the child and his mother and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the child's life are dead." And he rose and took the child and his mother and went to the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus reigned over Judea in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And being warned in a dream, he withdrew to the district of Galilee, and he went and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that what was spoken by the prophet might be fulfilled. He shall be called a Nazarene.
Christ is born. Glorify him. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Today I'm going to start with my little tune. And you know how the tune goes, and the words are in the book, in the morning's bulletin. God became man, the incarnation, so that man might become God. God became man, the incarnation, so that man might become God. The great Athanasius thus does teach, the great Athanasius thus does teach, and of this mystery he says, that which has not been assumed, that which has not been assumed, cannot be redeemed, cannot be redeemed. You know, it's funny how you can get, all kinds of good content, even heavy and deep content, into what can sound like just a little folk tune. And that little message right there, should we walk around with that in our hearts, we would have it all. But the all that we have is always way more difficult to fathom than we might think. Because even when we come to a feast like the Nativity of Christ, we hear things all our lives about how Christmas is for who? Who is Christmas for? Children. Maybe they don't say that anymore. But it was always something very common, that Christmas is for children. Well, obviously children enjoy it, and it's all about the gifts and the presents. But is that what it's really about? And it is about a gift. And we've heard, those of us who have been around even just a little bit of time, what do we hear? We hear that the great gift of Christmas is the Christ child himself. And so we ponder these things, but we don't ponder very hard, and we don't work very deeply at these things that even the Virgin, ponders in her heart and wonders about, because these things are infinitely deep. But the notion of a gift is an interesting one, because if we combine Christ as the gift that is given to us in his nativity, then we run into an interesting little syllogistic kind of connection. Because if God became man, then that man might become God, then the gift that God is became man, so that man might become the gift. And so, by that extension, what we see is that each of us is to be a present to each other. Each of us is to be a gift to each other. And we know lots about gifts, because if there isn't an activity that kind of fits into the season more than gift wrapping, I don't know what is. But when we think about that whole process too, sometimes more goes into what we're going to wrap it in than what the gift actually is. And so that also is an interesting thing to contemplate when we look at ourselves, because isn't that what we do? Don't we spend a good portion of our lives, at least the times when we're still strong and able, working on the packaging? We want to look good, we want to show up well. I mean, whether it's in priestly vestments, or whether we're just putting on our Sunday best, or whether we're trying to look cool, and whether we get nice haircuts and want to be stylish, and whether we put on our makeup, however we do it, it's all about the packaging. And that ends up being a very unfortunate thing, because we totally lose sight of the gift. And so when we hear something like, and we hear it all the time, yet let your light so shine, we don't recognize that light that is the light of Christ, is the gift given to us that we become. We become that gift. We become little Christ. And then it is up to us, it is our calling, to give that gift to each other, to give it to the world, so that just as Christ gives himself for the life of the world, that's our job. Exactly the same, that each and every one of us is gifts of light and life and joy and peace and love to the world. But we put it in a box. And we put it in a box that sometimes could be rather kind of ugly. You know, I mean, if we look at I don't know, a Walmart bag that you see blowing down the street, you know, that's kind of the package. And you can stuff stuff in there, but it ends up being this dirty, beat-up Walmart bag. Or those of us who remember paper bags, you know, paper bags could take on a pretty nasty kind of ambiance to them, you know, depending on what they were holding and, you know, how long they've been used, how many times. And then we can also have a packaging that ends up being really quite marvelous, a treasure chest. You know, something with jewels and things on it. We use it for reliquaries and things like that in the church. Very beautiful packages. And we can marvel at that package. Even something like our church can be considered right now a package for us. It's a very beautiful package. But what's inside is what matters. What's inside is what makes the gift so valuable and important. What's inside is what we are seeking, what the wise men were seeking. And we discover that when we discover who we are. And so our job, and it's a beautiful thing to think of these things as we come to the beginning of a new year, is always to look and say, how will I be changed by knowing God this year? And how, because of that, will I be able to show up in the world as light and life? That is Christ himself. And that's the struggle, because, man, are we stuck on the packaging or what? You know, and the packaging isn't just a matter of how we look on any given day. It's our whole story. You know, if you ask someone to tell you the story of your life, or I guess you wouldn't ask them to tell the story of your life. You would ask them to tell the story of their life. But however that works out, you know what I mean. When we come to the story, man, that story can become so elaborate. It can become so dramatic. It can become such a tale of sometimes glory and sometimes woe, and usually a little of both, that we miss who's sitting there right in front of us, caught up in the story. And so we get distracted very easily and miss what is right in front of us every day, every minute, for us to enjoy and for us to offer and share. So each day, God gives us the gift of another day of life. And he says to us, you, as my little ones, as little icons of me, go out and share that. Give it to those around you. Bring joy and happiness and fulfillment and satisfaction to those around you. When you show up, Be like me showing up. Be like that resurrected, that empty tomb on the day of the resurrection. Be like that. That when they see you, they know me. Now, that's probably not the kind of thinking that we generally do as we walk around in our day. Because we're spending an awful lot of time looking at other people's packages. We're looking at their packaging and judging it and evaluating it and considering how it can be improved on and what's wrong with it and how dare they bring that package to me looking like that. We go through all that kind of thinking, and so what we end up doing with each other is that it's package to package. It's bag to bag, and nothing of who we are really connects. And that's the sadness of it all. That's the tragedy of Jesus weeping at the tomb of Lazarus. That what we've come to is to be individuals, cut off from each other, burying ourselves under all kinds of stuff, all the things of this world, all the packaging, all the bags, gift bags, and all the treasure chests, and having very little or no idea, hardly at all, what's in the box. And so today gives us, again, one of those cyclic opportunities, as all of these do, to dance for joy with the angels and the saints in the wonder of not only the God who is before all things, but also in the wonder of Him having made us like that. And our job being to unwrap the package. Sometimes it's scary doing that. We don't like to do that. We're afraid of what we're going to find. But when we look really honestly, what we find is that there's this beautiful, precious, perfect little beam of light, the soul, the spirit, whatever we would call it, inside the box. And it is that we are called to share, that which we are to ourselves enjoy and contemplate, because in there we see God. So let us pray that as we get into this next year, that as we are given the gift of life and as life unfolds before us, because it too is a gift, it is God helping us to unwrap our own packages and packages of the people in our lives. Each day is given to us just for that. If you ever wonder why life shows up the way it does, it's so that you can come to know yourself better. If you ever wonder why the struggles that come to you are coming to you, it's so that you can get to know your neighbor and who they are, what's inside the box. So that's part of the struggle too, to be included with us in this whole gift-giving season. That these gifts that we've received, that we, when we're little children on this feast, enjoying the day because it truly is for children, let us not forget that we too are somewhere very small, a lot less mature and wise than we might ever like to believe about ourselves, and that our job is to open the box fearlessly and to take what assistance we get with courage and endurance until we open that box. And again, for some of us, probably for most of us, the real grand opening will be when we go into the kingdom. It will be when we join the saints, but we don't have to wait. Each day, each moment, we are capable of opening that box, finding ourselves, opening the boxes of others, helping them find themselves, and to shine with the light of the newborn Christ. Amen.